can I say I've been blessed in my area with a very active access panel, okay? And they have pursued various shades of councils over the past couple of decades, in fairness to them. So as a consequence of that, I've got an area which has good access in terms of dropped curbs, access to buses, disabled taxis, a whole host of different things. And the latest thing we're considering is actually electric charging points for scooters. So they've come on leaps and bounds. And I think the issue for me, the learning point for me, is that if you involve people with mobility problems or other disabilities actually in your decision making, you make better decisions. Where we haven't succeeded, to be frank, is with ScotRail. Simply because the location of the platforms is so difficult for people to access. But they haven't given up. They're going to keep trying. They've got grand plans for lifts and others. But that to me is the thing. If you involve local people in the design and decision making, then you're more likely to get it right. And these days, as everybody gets older, we become less mobile. We should actually be designing all of our public spaces as well as our housing with that in mind. So now when you see new houses being built, they are built for a lifetime, and they are built in a way that should be accessible. But there is nevertheless a case for local authorities to be much clearer about aids and adaptations. In the case of Western Berkshire, as one example, the Health and Social Care Partnership have £6 million of reserves built up over the pandemic, and I have people shouting out for aids and adaptations. So we would spend that money.
Thank you, Jackie. Ali?
Yeah, and just as a sort of declaration of an interest, Jane, I've been proud to call Cass McDonald my friend for the best part of 10 years. And Cass, it lays me very low to see what this has done to you. And I hope that you are experiencing some improvement and that you're getting the help that you need. You ask typically excellent questions and they're about access. I want to cover three aspects of access. And first is on mobility. I mean, I'm always struck when I come on a Zoom with long COVID sufferers, the number of people who will be doing it from their bed or from their sofa, prone with their head on a pillow because they have no energy to move in any other direction. And I think that we need to recognize when we're finally building and we drag the SNP government kicking and screaming to spending that money and putting more money behind it to create long COVID clinics, that they're not just the be all and end all. We actually probably need peripatetic long COVID nurses, district nurses, to come out to help people who are too ill to leave their homes. And that's key. That was always a problem with long-term conditions before. It's exponentially more with long COVID. I don't have a great deal to add to what Jackie says because she, I know, is an absolute champion on this, and I share her fervor on this. She's made some really good points. I have a constituent in West Edinburgh who she is a wheelchair user. She has an acquired brain injury following the removal of a brain tumor, and she goes around embarrassing people, and she does that by creating she creates an almanac of all hospitality venues in Edinburgh that wheelchair accessible, and she shames the one that says they are and actually aren't, or have an out of order sign on their doors. She's excellent, so we need more like that. And yeah, the third thing in terms of access is about access to politics. Pam Duncan-Glancy, who's in Jackie's party but is a friend to both of us, is the first permanent wheelchair user in the Scottish Parliament. She won't be the last, but it speaks to the paucity of representation of people who are suffering long-term conditions and disability in Parliament. So my message to you is loud and simple. You guys are not shrinking violets, and I have been astonished by how vocal you can be. So when the next election comes around, pick a party and run for it, or if you don't like any of the parties, start your own party, but stand up and be counted.